Hello, hello. Good evening. This is Dallas Cohen, the rebound coach, and I having technical difficulties. Thanks. Okay, great. So we were already having technical difficulties right out the gate. Gotta love it. So let's start again. Hi, I'm Dallas Cohen, the rebound coach, and
Malikia K. Courtney.
And we're very, very happy that you joined us tonight. If you are finding this in your Facebook feed that's just scrolling by and two faces popped up, you decided to click on them, we're glad you're here. If you are watching the replay on Facebook or on YouTube, we are glad you're here. If you are popping in on Clubhouse, we are glad you're here. Thanks for coming. It is no accident that you are in a room with us today or watching us via a screen today. I believe 100% that there are no accidents. And if you're here, there's a reason. And the information that we're going to share tonight is very valuable for your life. And so if it's the first time for you joining me on any platform and you're not quite sure who Dallas Cohen is and why are we here together, I'd like to share a little bit of my background with you, and I'll allow Malikia to do the same. So I'm a life coach, or I go by the rebound coach, and coaches help people get unstuck. And I do that in the relationship space, not because of, but I was married for 10 years to a man who wanted me dead. And prior to that, had a decent upbringing. My childhood, I was also molested from age 8 to age 16. So that radically affects how you see yourself, how you relate to God. In my household, I had a faith-based household, and how I related to men. And so fast forward, when I met the man that I married, there were definitely red flags, definitely concerns. However, I'm a praying woman and believed that God was with us. And because I believed God was with us, I believed that whatever trouble would come, we'd be able to withstand it or outlast it. Trouble came right away and never quite went away. The way I explain it to people is that we were in a cycle of coping and crisis, where we were kind of barely making it. Then there would be a crisis to shake things up, and then we'd recover from the crisis, but not to healing, but just back to coping. And so that cycle continued. As the years progressed, things got, the crises became worse and worse and more frequent, and came to a head in January 2020, when the man I had been married to for about 10 years at that time left for another woman in a very dramatic fashion. And I'm laughing now, but it was horrible. And the very next day, I found out that he and that woman had been plotting my murder for months. So if you're here tonight based on our title of Community Betrayal, if that betrayal word grabbed you, that has been, unfortunately, an experience of mine on many levels. And so, everything came to a head, everything. And I was very, challenged on every level, as a human being, as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, as a child of God, and as a coach. I had been coaching women in the relationship space for about 5 or 6 years by then, and on the platform of how to stay married in difficult situations. And so if you've ever had your identity formed around an idea, around a platform, around a particular code of conduct, and then had that very thing be the thing that was in shambles on the floor and everyone could tell, that's the place I was in. And when we're going to talk about community tonight, a lot of the people that I serve now have different experiences than I had in my communities outside of the household I was in. And so I had a decision to make at that time. I could allow the identity that my former husband had for me to tell me who I was, to tell me how many days I had left on the planet, to tell me who I could become, or I could choose life. So I've written a memoir out of that entire experience and other life experiences, and it's called I Choose Life: Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And when I talk about love story, not just romantic love, it includes that, but how we all learn to love and be loved is something that comes in childhood, and we have the opportunity as adults to rewrite that story if we choose. And so this is a roadmap for you. You can find it at thereboundcoach.com/book. Thereboundcoach.com/book is where you can find the book, I Choose Life. And so Malikia and I have the pleasure of having her in my life, and and she's an amazing, amazing soul. And I chose her to have this conversation with, and I'll allow her to share her story, and then we'll frame our conversation for this evening. But I invited her to have this conversation because she's very skilled in helping people move through trauma, move past trauma. And betrayal is a trauma, no matter how it comes, how often, or which type. It is a trauma. And it's important for adults who are growing. Not all adults are growing, but for those who are growing,
No comment.
for those of us who are on a path of personal and or professional development, it's important to pay attention to those traumas and to move through and move past them, because the trauma lives whether we deal with it or not, right? So I wanted to have, I think this is really important, but I want to pass the mic. And I'm talking in both terms. This is wild. So for those of you on Clubhouse, we are also on Facebook Live, and these recordings will live on Facebook as well as YouTube. And so it's only my second time kind of simulcasting, and it's a little weird. It's a little weird. So we're happy you're here either way. If you are joining me on Facebook Live, and if you'd like to join the Facebook Live, you can actually make comments, and I will be really glad to have you. That is facebook.com/thereboundcoach, facebook.com/thereboundcoach. I'm live streaming right from there. You can see our faces in addition to hearing our voices. And
Thank you too.
Yeah, for real. And after we kind of curate some what I think is going to be very, very good discussion today, we'll open the floor on Clubhouse for conversation, because I think this is a really, and it probably won't be the first time we have this topic up. So with all that being said, Malikia, if you could share kind of a little bit of your background and what brought you here today.
What brought me here today, we're going to go backwards. Hi, y'all. I am Malikia Courtney, as mentioned before. What brought me here today is a job. So I believe that I was asked to kind of fill this seat and participate in this conversation because I have experienced abuse and trauma, like Dallas mentioned. And not only that, having written the book, The Ladder, How to Escape the Hells of Domestic Violence and Trauma, which is really a springboard for people who stepped out but still find themselves living in that cycle of, damn, what happened? It's literally in place to help you move out of it and shortcut the pain, shortcut the stress and the death that seems to cycle on repeat, right? Having experienced trauma in several different ways, it is an important conversation to have. We are going to touch on several different aspects from what I've been informed, because and it's going to be pretty awesome. It's wonderful. Like, it kind of sounds retarded a little bit, but it's wonderful to have the conversation today. I just had to deal with something yesterday. I just had to deal with something last week. So, and then a few months ago. So those three things can come into play very tactfully, of course. And understanding what it takes to experience the pain that is present and ain't going nowhere until you deal with it. But here's a chance to deal with it. So backstory, I was fortunate enough to have a husband like hers. He just was amazing, and thank God for him. I learned a lot. For some reason, I don't know what it is though, because I'm pretty awesome. He didn't think I needed any more oxygen. He just kind of wanted to relieve me of my oxygen, and I did not agree. Okay. And I'm making jokes now because I can, because you laugh or you cry. It was a very dangerous situation. He physically was able to attempt to remove my life. And not only my life, I was pregnant at the time with our son. So I would call it trauma. And I'm bringing this up right now because we're going to touch points on this. Also, to be a part of a church community and have relationships built on a global level. And we're talking close friends into the upper hundreds, thousands, and then acquaintances and still relationship through service and such like that globally, millions, right? To be shut out, if we point to the topic that was created, shut out of that community, what it looked like. And then the third thing that I'll mention, most recently, spent time fingers in the dirt, helping build something that I thought was going to be amazing. And then only to find myself on the other side of the door. But what I will say is I had a process in place. Bless God, I was prompted to write the freaking book and get all those things in front of my face so that I did not have to deal with the length of drama and pain that I had to with those other situations. Baby, I followed those steps and I'm 75% there. I have one more conversation to have on Thursday and I will be 100%. And we're talking about a week from eruption. So I am here to help you shortcut the time it takes to get back to living. Want to do living? I want to do living. If you want to catch the book called The Ladder, you can find it at theladderbook.com/purchase. Theladderbook.com/purchase, and you choose your method of purchasing. It is an e-copy delivery. Read it right away if you know you need it. Share it if you know someone who needs it, because it's domestic violence is an important conversation. It is not an optional conversation, though we treat it like it is. We relegate it to a month, right? We get to talk about domestic violence this month, and nah, bro, it's happening every day, and more so during COVID. Okay, so pleased to meet you.
And not only are there books available, we'll be talking about this toward the end of our conversation as well, but we create actual live spaces for women to move through and to the end of trauma. There is an opportunity for that coming up in like 2 months, y'all. April 8th, 9th, and 10th in Clearwater, Florida. It's called the Sanctuary Experience. And if you are joining us on Clubhouse, that's significant because you're in the Sanctuary Experience XP Club by Malikia Courtney. So if you have an interest, especially as we're talking today, if this touches points, pain points for you, and you'd like to move through trauma and you'd like a community to usher you through that process, you need to join us. You can find information about the upcoming Sanctuary Experience at thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. That is thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. If you're watching the video, you can see the link, but I'm repeating for our audio audience. So, okay.
I'm getting messages choppy.
So all that being said, I'd like to kind of frame up the conversation, why we're having this. And I know that we're going to have more than one because of the scope of this topic. But I chose this, number one, because I serve women who are coming out of domestic violence situations. And when I say domestic violence, that includes emotional abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse, the kinds that they don't talk about as much. And in those communities, there's a lot of dynamics going on. And when women leave, it's not the same as like there's a black eye and everybody knows it. Okay. It's not the same. You don't see those scars. And in many cases, the abuse is called covert. Covert abuse just means it's sneaky. The person being abused can barely tell what's going on, and people on the outside don't know. Unless you know this pattern, you've walked it. When you walk it, your eyes are eyes get opened. You kind of know what you're dealing with. But even then, people get snowed into 2 and 3 and 4 kinds of these types of abuses. So it's a learning process. We are always growing. We're never finished. But you can have tremendous gains by being intentional. So All that to be said, when women leave these kinds of relationships, their church communities, no matter which kind, I want to be clear. This is not relegated to any particular kind of, well, Dave, you got that theology. No, human nature. This is human nature that we're dealing with. And so people get rejected out of churches when there's divorces, when there are single parenthood situations, which, the times have changed. But depending on how far back you go, that was more common, I think, than it is now. But still happening, right? So people feel like they are justified in rejecting someone else based on their decisions, good, bad, or ugly, right? So it happens in churches. It happens with friend groups. A lot of covert abusers are very, the word is, they have a lot of charisma, and they do a good job of public relations and showing a version of themselves that's not the same version that goes in the house. When your abuser is your pastor, for whatever reason, you're going to find yourself on the outside of that community, whether you're married to that pastor or not. If your pastor is your abuser and you move through it, you move through the situation, and you tell anybody, you're going to be on the other side of that door, right? So faith communities are get a lot of the heat, but also families, extended families, your in-laws. If you're going through a divorce, your in-laws, that might be a weird thing now. Your extended family, that's a weird thing now. All of that can happen, and it's second and third wave of trauma. You have a traumatic experience in your relationship, and then you leave that relationship, and there's second, third, fourth, fifth traumas in dealing with the people. Now that we're on social media, that's a whole nother animal. It's a whole nother animal, because that is a community. What the pandemic taught us, and it is what it is, for better, for worse. We, as human beings, were created for community, and we've been able to create and destroy communities virtually. And we're on 2 apps right now where communities live, and we will be on a couple more apps when this is finished. Human beings are made for community. We're made for it. That's why when you go to prison and you mess up in prison, they put you in the hole. It's an extra punishment, because human beings are made for community. We are not made for isolation. It is not good for man to be alone. We weren't created for that. It's not our makeup. So even the most introvert of introverts still need people, right? So the shunning, the turning away, the separation of community is a major life event, especially when we don't see it coming. Sometimes even when we do, right? People have outgrow situations and don't leave it because of community, because of our innate need for that connection.
Say the link again to where to find me on Facebook.
Oh, if you'd like to join us on video, you can join that conversation, facebook.com/thereboundcoach, The Rebound Coach. And you'll see my book and pretty face, and our 2 faces. Facebook.com/thereboundcoach. And so it's a second and third trauma. And when suddenly, you're no longer welcome in a group where you felt like you need to belong. Belonging is a core need, a core human need. It's something we need as babies, and young children need that I belong here kind of feeling, which is why, when you have kids that have gone through the foster care system, and I don't care if it was a week, okay? Kids that go through foster care have a certain set of challenges, the same set, which tells anybody paying attention that it came from the same event, right? That sense of belonging was disturbed. And whatever the needs were that weren't met in childhood, we spend adulthood trying to fill the need. Okay. So it would benefit all of us to pay attention to what needs were missed when we were young, whether that's real or perceived. Your parents could have been saints and you still felt some type of way. and may have nothing to do with them. It's just you felt a certain type of way. You didn't have a need met. You're going to spend the rest of your days trying to fill it if you don't pay attention. And so I hope to stir some things into you tonight that helps you pay attention and walk in a way that is a healing walk instead of the stuff we stuff our wounds with, right? Also, just this past weekend, someone in my professional community committed suicide. Her name is Chesley Christ. She was the former Miss USA from 2019, young, beautiful Black woman, 30 years old, obviously beauty queen, an MBA, an attorney. Again, she was part of my professional community, and it's a surprise to everyone that she jumped off a building in Manhattan and took her life. And while that is incredibly jarring, and people say, well, we should put up the suicide hotline and encourage people to call. And we should, right? Like, we should do all the things. We should do all the things. What I want to inspire, this is my contribution, and this is my way to honor her life. We need community. She was one of the strong friends that people have. She's the image of, you've got everything going on for you. You ain't broke. You ain't ugly. You are loved. You are admired. You've got, she was a correspondent on Extra. She had all these professional things going on for her. There's no perceivable reason from people, us on the outside, no perceivable reason why she felt so hopeless to take her life. Yet it happened. There's no blame to place. And I'm not close enough to that person or situation to even speak on that. What I can say is human beings are made for community. And there are as many suicide stories that were successful. There are so much more that were not because of community. Okay. And so not only should we, as people who have been rejected from community, pay attention and walk in healing and be responsible for ourselves. As human beings, we should also be actively forming community, especially for those we feel like don't need it. They're the first one. And we say that, and we make little memes, and we show Robin Williams. And I mean, we've made it a thing. But I want to inspire you, encourage you. Look in your household first. In your household, the people who live in the chambers, who sleep in the rooms next to yours, and in the bed that you also sleep in. Start there, please. This is a relationship thing, okay? That's my vein. So we always gonna start who's in the bed with you. We always gonna start there. Okay. After that, who's down the hall from you? After that, who are you related to? Okay. Then we go into these other spaces where we want to spend more of our time, right? With the people are nicer. Okay. Let me stop preaching. We got a lot to talk about tonight. But we must talk about the need for community, the need of being a community, for the strong ones especially. And so we also talked about Malikia and her skill. I'm very glad she's here. And make sure you check out the ladder. I'm going to pop that up again because that will help you move through in a very practical sense. All right. This topic has affected all of us, whether we've been the ones rejected, we've been part of a community that has changed. So they a split in a church, or a bunch of firings at a job. Some of that's nobody's fault, but it's a community. It's a workplace, it's a community. And then a bunch of folks left for whatever the reason was. Now there's a change, or a bunch of new people showed up, right? That's a shift in community. Or you've been the decision maker that decided that someone's going to leave a community, right? And you might say, well, shoot, I've never done that. I'm not that mean person. check it. If there was a split and there was a decision you were privy to and you said nothing, you are a decision maker. Silence is a decision. Silence is a decision. And so none of us are without blame. None of us in different situations. If you've left a domestic violence situation, you have rejected someone from your family. That's not always a bad thing, right? And so that's kind of our first question. So for the sake of the conversation, community betrayal comes from many ways. Again, we talked about church hurt, family feuds, domestic violence, toxic work environments, professional communities, school cliques. Kids deal with this. Kids deal with this. This is, and we all dealt with it as kids. This is how we learn how to deal with community. And we learned great or we learned awful, but we learned, right? We all got the skill some kind of way. We got a skill to be the mean girl. We got a skill to be the quiet kid. We got a skill to be the class clown. We got a skill. We learned how to deal. Right. And we are repeating the cycle until we are intentional. And even once we start being intentional, you have to continue to be intentional as we make decisions, as new people pop up in our lives, as the same issue with a different face pops up in our life. Amen, Dallas.
Different, but it's a different day.
I'm just going to be my own amen corner right there. Because it comes up and it gives you another chance to grow and another chance to learn. So don't feel like, oh man, I'm cursed. I keep getting these situations. No. You're blessed to keep getting these situations because you get the opportunity to choose better. Whew, that felt good. Too much, Shondo. Y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even know.
Yes.
Praise Jesus. All right. So, and I want to, I'm going to pose some questions for Malikia, and I want to kind of play devil's advocate in these different situations because honestly, we've all been in all of the seats. We've been the one put out. We've been the one putting out. No, focus. We've been the one silent. Okay, we've been the one not knowing what to do, not knowing who to believe, and feeling like we're not doing the right thing. So, first question, is separation or rejection of someone always bad? And when might it be the right decision?
I'm going to start with the full answer. The full answer is separation from a person. I mean, consider change, Dallas. Consider the fact that every day is different. Every day you are different. Though you may look in the mirror and see the same you are different, darling. It's the natural progression of life. We are growing. I love what my guy David Bryan says. Love that dude. We are all walking one another home. Mm-hmm. So something's immediately different every day, though we may not take the time to enjoy the beauty of it, the blessing of being awake and above ground another day, right? But it just is the case. So let's put it into the frame of relating. How many people really keep in touch with their folks from kindergarten, 2nd grade, 11th grade, college, grad school? You keep more tight probably with some of the folks you did your PhD with, but maybe. Even then, that's a hell of a maybe.
Yeah.
So if we can move from the frame of understanding that all things like the seasons change, we're going to start off from a better mindset. So that's your framing. Let's move into relationships, romantic ones. When you realize, first of all, ain't nobody slow. So let's get to the truth of the matter. Do we put words on us? Okay,
we do not.
Pardon me. I just got to get some permission here just to make sure I got potty mouth, y'all. So, when you are considering your romantic partner, if you're anything like Malikia, you are assessing, you are checking out who this human is, if it's any serious intention. And let me frame it that way, because some folks, I had my time too. Want to have some fun. It didn't matter really who that person was in character, what they wanted to do with their lives. It was not of any consequence. So let's fast forward.
That's not the culture we're building with the Rebound
Listen,
Coach.
I'm telling you, all the things that come out of my mouth are from my heart. So don't charge her with it. I'm just going to hit you with the quick. And the quick looks like this. We look at these humans that we consider dating, pursuing, marrying, right? Building a life with, and we are assessing. We are looking at, okay, is this person about to be beautiful in my life, or they're about to be the sour grape that smells like trash every day to the rest of my life and suck the life out of me? You better be asking those questions. Mm-hmm. And it generally becomes clear that we got some flags on the table. There's a delay of game, but we do one of these numbers. Cover our eyes, pretend like we didn't see what we saw. Get quiet and not speak on it and ask those questions. And then women got this one magic eraser. I swear. Ooh, the magic eraser just like Jesus. It covered a whole multitude of the sin. You see, dude or female doing exactly what they're doing. Do you really think that it's going to change, darling? Mm-hmm. After a ring, the answer is no. It's just really not going to be too much different. Just maybe a little bit more magnified. So if you cannot tolerate it or stomach it in the dating life, you're going to hate it and resent it in your married life, especially if you love Jesus. Mm-hmm. You're going to find yourself making excuses, praying, thinking you praying somebody through a thing that they ain't even trying to let go of. Stop playing. So that is when you want your out before you go in. Mm-hmm. For real. And take your out.
And to add to that, so everyone has red flags, right?
True.
The way I used to phrase it is there's no one who doesn't have something so bad you should not marry them.
Don't agree with that statement. That's a valid statement.
It is. Because obviously some things are worse than others, obviously. But it's important to know your own tolerance.
That is true.
Okay. So is this a thing I'm okay with dealing with for the rest of my foreseeable future?
Right.
Right. Yes or no. And if no, then love yourself enough to say, I don't want that for my future.
And add a kid or two, please. Do you want that for your children? And then add a truth measure too, because this is not an outward focused thing. Let's go inward. Are you ridiculous? Because if you're ridiculous, you don't have no right to ask somebody else to not be ridiculous too. So I do appreciate you pointing that out. You find what works for you. It is time to go. If you are being disrespected on the regular, it's time to go. If folks are putting their hands on one another, and I've advocated for women and men. So abuse is an equal opportunity employer. It go both ways. Mm-hmm. Bisexual is I don't know what. So point being, consider those things. If you find that the truth that you know is the truth is being offered to you as something that ain't the truth, Morning Bender song, you make excuses and I find another way to tell the truth. If you are living that on repeat, gaslighting, baby, gaslighting.
And there's a lot of signs. And so we're touching on domestic violence because that is something that is a really important part of all of our conversations. However, if you think you might be going through that, I do have resources. We have several. If you go on Facebook, facebook.com/The Rebound Coach, I have many of these podcast recordings on those topics. So I don't want to go too deep down that hole because I want to stay on topic here. And we talked about community betrayal. So what's the difference between someone who needs to leave a community for whatever reason and a betrayal? What makes it a betrayal?
Okay,
I have a thought, but
throw that question out one more time. Say again.
So the topic of our room is a conversation on community betrayal. Yes.
My airman is on my phone. Go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to kind of piece it out. So what's the difference between, all right, well, if someone needs to leave a church, or if someone was asked to step down from a leadership role, or if someone was fired, is that necessarily a betrayal? And what makes a community betrayal a betrayal?
Okay. So let's approach it. And I always do my best to approach it from experiences, and whether it's mine or clients, and then research, reading, personal development, right? So we're going to give you the whole. I have been around when certain folks were removed from leadership. It was done, in that instance at least, for them. Like it was done with them in mind, with their heart in mind, with helping them in mind, and they were not discarded. So they had folks in place. There was a plan that was built, and then they worked through the plan to get them strong enough and help them heal the issues that were going on, and then they were restored to ministry. So I would think that possibly one vein that could really be highlighted in that is it's a separation or removal for restoration, for healing, for cleansing, for time, right? Because sometimes especially if you're in leadership, good God, it is heavy when you're leading people, when you're loving people and you're guiding folks and you're getting the phone calls, and it is fire, hell on fire in so many lives, and you're working to put out these fires. Sometimes your yard is a little bit raggedy, and one of those little sparks of fire jumps over in your yard and you're on fire. So you need to stop helping everybody else, Captain Save a person, and go sit down and take care of self and mind and health and heart and spirit
and family.
So it's I would say that the difference between that and then the betrayal to me is more when it's done with ego, right? It looks like handling it or doing that action is a must, and it must be done out loud, and it must be done like a banner, and it must be cruel as possible and punishing. There's a punishment element in betrayal. And even when it's quiet betrayal, there is something in the heart. Ooh, it always goes back down to the heart. There's something in the heart that moves a person to betray, whether it's an offense that they didn't speak on. Maybe their heart is hurt about something, and then they take the time to be a petty human. Learn a lot about petty humans nowadays, but
we're going to talk about petty.
Yes, we are. To exact their idea of judgment or justice, right? So I think betrayal comes with an element of hurt. I think betrayal comes with an element of secrecy, because maybe there's something they don't want you to tell. Maybe there's folks that we have in common, and if this one go and tell my business, it's about to be a problem. So I'm gonna get away with that.
Instead of just
coming clean, repent,
or communicating and say, "Hey, I told you this in confidence. Please don't go share with our common friends."
Or you ate my freaking sandwich and I really wanted it, and I'm pissed. You know, my mouth was ready for it. I went to the refrigerator and ate there, and I'm mad. So if you living life on that petty line,
it happens. No,
it does.
That was this is a funny story, but that was a theme in the marriage I had. He would steal food, and I was especially mad because he didn't provide. I was a sole breadwinner in my home, and so I bought the groceries. I cooked the groceries after working all day, and you done took my leftovers.
See, and I have a whole
that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole different conversation. And I have a different view.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay. But that feeling of betrayal, right? And so my thought on what makes a separation a betrayal, and to your point, there can be a separation for restoration where that's the intent, and even couples. Married couples can separate. They call that therapeutic separation, where there's an intent to restore, and there's people and community in place to help the restoration happen. It's a plan. It's not, I'm bouncing.
I don't like you.
I don't like you no more. I'm out this piece.
Or I don't like you, so I want nobody else we know to like you. Betrayal.
And so for me, a community betrayal is different than a separation because of the expectations in place. Okay, betrayal means I trusted you for something, whether that was expressed or not. I trusted you for something, you broke that trust. And so there are many expectations we put on people in every single transaction with another human being. There are expectations present. Write that down.
What you want?
In every transaction with another human being, and I don't care if that is the driver in the next lane, there are expectations present. Okay? The deeper the transaction, the more expectations and the higher they are, and the bigger it is when those expectations are broken. So, my tip to you, my darlings.
Don't confess. Don't confess. I'm like, that feel like a confession. So like a confession.
My tips to you, my darlings, are to express your expectations. Number one, take a second and figure out what the heck you want. What are you expecting? And not what you think you should be expecting. Like, be honest with yourself. What am I really wanting out of this? Like, sit down, dig deep, and tell the truth. And then, depending on the nature of your transaction with this other human being, tell them the truth.
That part.
The truth, not a lie. Tell the truth.
Here's a point of interest, right? Sometimes you gotta meet with yourself.
Yes.
So you understand what the truth is.
Yes.
And we lie to ourselves sometimes.
Yes.
So sit down with you.
Yes.
Write it down and then read yourself a story.
Yes.
The story that you just wrote.
Yes.
And fact check it. Because sometimes stuff you done told yourself is true ain't exactly true.
Yeah.
So, and please don't leave it up to just you. Don't be your sole advisor.
Yes. Community.
Because sometimes, look, when I have awesome suggestions, and there's only certain folks that are willing to play with me in those lanes. So I need my community to tell me, oh, hell no, I didn't know that was you.
No.
So, be honest. Chill, go ahead.
Tell the truth. So it really comes with expectations. And so going back to marriages, I'm of a Hebrew faith. And in the Hebrew culture, they have this thing called the ketubah. It's literally a written marriage contract where at the ceremony, the two people getting married read it. They both sign it. There's witnesses that sign it. The person officiating the wedding signs it. And it is supposed to be posted in your house. And you can literally, the couple getting married can put anything they want in such a document. And folks put, there's some templates that most people use, but you literally can put anything. I'd like X number of children. I want my dinner cooked at 6 o'clock.
Nope.
Hebrews. I'm not making coffee, Hebrews. But really anything. And it's an exercise and it doesn't mean you think of everything, and it doesn't mean it's foolproof. It doesn't mean anything other than it's an exercise in expectations. Right? Betrayal happens when expectations are broken, when trust is broken, when we feel like you went behind my back and broke my trust. Right? So that's what kind of makes a betrayal. So the second kind of seat we want to sit in, if someone gets kicked out of my group, all right, so I didn't kick anybody out. I'm not the person kicked out, but someone got kicked out of my group. How do I handle it? And what if I don't know who to believe?
That's why you come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. No, here's okay. So in seriousness, I don't think anybody should feel obligated to play detective. You know what I mean? I don't think there should be an immediate obligation. Oh my God, who do I need to believe? I would say if the offense that has been reported is severe enough that it affects you or your children or your family or your state or your business, that's when you want to do some investigating. But sometimes it's not so profound that it affects you. You know what I mean? And in those cases, I would say your response is, if you are a praying community or a praying person, pray. If you are one who understands universe energy and vibration, love and light, that is what you can do to bless the situation. If it's somebody that you care about, pick up the phone. Like Jesus, it's not that it's a no-brainer. Or communicate however you communicate, whether it's media or da-da-da. If it's someone you love, then you are there for those you love. You ask the questions, and then here's the mature that some people just freaking miss. The mature is, you don't have to not deal with one or the other. You are the adult. This is your life. You choose who you befriend or stay friends with or move on away from for whatever reason you decide. If you hear something and you feel like, okay, this is freaking true, you have the responsibility to now decide, am I going to continue on and deal with any of it? Or am I Switzerland? Bennett, I ain't in it. I think that is the mature approach. Like, there's no, this is not grade school for the adults. You're not a kid anymore. You make the decisions that work for you. And then if your people don't like it, whether it's the staying community that don't like the other person or you communicating with them, that's their problem. If the person that left don't like that you still communicate with the other people, that's their problem. See what I'm saying? You don't have a problem.
It's difficult though. It's difficult because we're dealing with people's lives, people's hearts, especially in a couple splits, right?
Ooh, who gets a couple friends?
A couple splits out of my friend group. She says he abused her. I don't believe it. He's so nice. He's so nice. He's a godly man. How could he possibly? No, I'm telling you, this is real stuff.
Dude, I have a flash in my head. I know exactly who came to mind too.
This is real stuff.
You and this other young lady who was no hero, she's not even with us anymore because of the physical abuse that she endured, which is 6'4"-ish, 300 pounds of muscle man. Beat her like a dude, hit her with a garbage can on top of it, sent her body into the worst shock that she never recovered from. And still, and we had people in common, there were so many folks out there mouth saying that stupidity to the point where she posted the pictures. No one, you don't have a right to demand that of anyone. Stop trying to play God. Stop trying to play God. So that's what I'm saying, Dallas. That's what I mean. I'm not going to put myself in a position to play God for anybody. You get to be with God and make your decisions. And my position as a person who is out of a community, right? My position is to love you. My position is to pray for you. But at the time, if I'm the person that's out of the community, now I need to focus on me. I need to focus on my heart, my life, my emotions, spiritual energy, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I'm the person in the community, again, I point out, you're in a position to pray. If you pray, you're in a position to sit in love and light. You're in a position to connect and communicate. If I am the person that kicked this person out of the community, then I got to check me and make sure I made the right decision. I got to be honest before the God who I serve and who brought me about for purpose. I got to have that in place and know that I did not do this from ego, from secrecy, or just pure jealousy.
But people do sometimes.
People trifle.
Right? So if you got honest with yourself and you say, you know what? I did this because I was mad, because I was being petty. I did this because it was going to upset so-and-so and I don't like so-and-so. Right? So there's a lot of dynamics in play. And I think it again goes back to being honest. Honest with yourself.
Sure.
And assessing your own relationship. So family, it's even more complicated when you got extended family you're trying to navigate, and whose side am I on? And in this scenario where you don't know the facts, right? You don't know the facts. And sometimes you in a story and don't know the facts. Like, let's be for real. So if you're that bystander, are you going to go to so-and-so's for Thanksgiving? Oh no, I'm going to go to so-and-so's for Thanksgiving. You know what happened last year? Right? Like, it's not the easiest thing to navigate, but I think having a heart to honor the people in your life
and protect your peace.
That's important too. That's important too. All right. So I want to move on to the next thing.
For sure.
If I am the one being rejected, how do I handle it to help myself and others? If I'm the one rejected, how do I handle it to help myself and others? Do I write a memoir? Dallas, did you write a memoir because you wanted to lie on your ex-husband? I get some Facebook chatter. Not a ton. So I mentioned this earlier that I wanted to touch on this because a lot of women who come out of domestic violent marriages, especially when there's emotional abuse, they have trouble in their faith community. Part of my abuse was being isolated. So I was pulled out of any church community. I wasn't allowed to go on a regular basis. We did not go as a family. And so I didn't go to church. So I didn't like suddenly show up by myself. However, I had church communities. So there was people that loved me that were part of faith communities. And it was amazing. It was amazing how I didn't lose any supporters. And when I don't say that lightly because it's not everyone's experience at all. I didn't lose my business community where my literal platform was how to stay married. And really, I didn't use the word abuse. Well, very rarely did I use the word abuse, but my platform was covenant warriors and keeping covenant. And, let me tell you all the ways to do it and why you should, no matter what he does, right? I lived that life. I taught that. So I didn't teach anything I didn't believe in. I believed in it. But as I needed to switch teams, okay, as I say that, of us. Say that real light, but I needed to switch teams, and suddenly I didn't believe in that anymore. I didn't lose people, and I had to go tell them the truth. The man that they saw minister with me, they saw him at the events I used to hold. Sanctuary as a women's retreat is not my first rodeo. Been doing this for a minute. And so the people in those communities, they knew him. Some of them knew me before I was married, and they saw the things growing. And so I got comments like, I didn't like your marriage, but I didn't want to say anything. I got comments like that. And I got people who would reach out and say, well, is he still with that other chick? So hold on. What? We talking about community betrayal. So this story comes up. Wow. A former friend of his reached out to me on Facebook after I have a book, after I'm on Facebook with my book and my story where I say the man I was married to wanted me dead and this is what happened. His close friend reached out to me. Is he still with so-and-so? Come again? Oh, well, so-and-so. He had asked her to be his second wife. You didn't know? Hold up. Hold up. Okay, I told you I'm a Hebrew. They do that kind of crazy stuff. If your head is twisting, I just need to
hell no.
For the tiniest anyway, some of those folks do that kind of stuff. It was not anything I agreed to at all. Okay, just to be like 10,000% clear. He did some trifling mess. My former husband did some trifling mess some years prior to everything happening. So the chick that he was trying to kill me with was not the chick that he asked to be his second wife some years prior. That I was just, ma'am?
I said, what the bug? I said,
that I was just hearing about after the fact. And so, I was, no, that's not, and what? And fill in the gap for me. So he was filling in the gaps. But that
is betrayal.
Is a community betrayal. Hello, wait a minute. You telling me you were close to my former husband and he had mentioned this to this particular friend and some other people close to him who he had said over the years, my wife's going to die. My wife's going to die. So it wasn't, the murder plot was new, but him wanting me dead was not new. And he had said these things to people over the years, men who were close to him. And people who are close to him, he had said in passing, my wife's going to die. And no one said anything to me.
That brings up a point of the proper community. Please take the temperature of your community and my dear boys, please take the temperature because
that's bro code. That's bro code. So because that's your bro, you don't tell when he's committing adultery. You're sitting up in his house where his wife and children are, and you know he's committing adultery, and you don't say those things. You know he mentioned his wife gonna die, his wife should die, God's gonna kill his wife, and you don't say anything to the woman of the house.
Okay, so let's talk about the responsibility of hearing trash like that. You know, getting my Jesus words. Get my Jesus words to my tongue, God. If you are a part of a community, y'all, that's foolishness at its highest peak. But it also, I feel, speaks to the narrative of that same man stuff, that man manipulation. I am the man, don't question me. It's as I said, rock with my cadence. Again, hell no. So it's important to, and I'm being funny, but for real, it is important to have a healthy community, because some of us settled for less than healthy communities. And what's nuts is same type of situation, different spot. CCOC, I'm in the church, ticking with dude. This before we got married. He already went around, so everybody that was knocking hadn't touched him. However, the plot was, as abusers do, isolate. So he knew that if he went and said spread all these lies, everybody looking at me. And the comment that my pastor said to me, which blew my absolute mind, I was waiting for you to come confess. My pastor said that, y'all.
Wow.
Sir, there was nothing to confess. I was clueless. Had no idea. I just know everybody was acting funny.
Wow.
But nobody committed. And this is the church, but stuff happens in the church too. So that's not your the church is people. You know,
that's
pay
right.
attention and create. When you're creating your communities, read a book. If you do not understand what community is, please, Uncle Google and Auntie YouTube got your back. And you also have the sanctuary experience space on CH and many other spaces. But don't, I almost said the other word, don't be a slow bunny and not be active in taking the temperature of your community, not being active in taking the temperature of you because you are attracting your community. Why? It's true. It's true. So those are your we're dropping keys in the middle of our conversation. So if you're taking notes, I'm sure you got a bunch of nuggets already. But pay attention. Damn. It's too late in the day. You can't live not paying attention. I'm gonna say that and let her get to the next question because I know it's another one.
Oh, there's plenty.
Okay.
So again, if I'm the one who's rejected, what's the best way to handle that? Now we got a bunch
riot. No, I'm just kidding.
We got a bunch of different situations. There's a bunch of different ways that can happen, right?
Sure.
And here's what I'll say, and I'll let you elaborate. Know your core values. What's important to you, the kind of person you want to be. Okay. Not what you feel like the situation deserves. Okay. When you're making decision, and this is important for any decision you're making, your core values. Who are you? Who are you deciding to become? And you make decisions that align with that. So for me, a core value of mine is integrity. That's a core value of mine. So even if I feel like, man, so-and-so deserved X, Y, and Z, if that don't strike me as integral, that's not for me to do, because that's not who I am. That's not who I choose to be. So even as I've written my story and it's all factual and I got receipts in there and everything, y'all, screenshots. Oh yeah. If you're that kind of person, it's in there, but it's not, in an effort to slander anybody. It is my story. I'm not telling his story. I can't tell his story. I can only tell mine. Right. So that is a way to handle things. And I'll say this too, just because you're deciding to move one way today does not mean you have to stay in that tomorrow.
That is true. Oh my God, that's such a true statement.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Allow yourself to move through the stages of grief, because that's another thing. I don't care how bad they were to you or what they deserved. a change in community is like a death.
It is.
And it needs to be properly grieved. Otherwise, it's a trauma that sits and lives and
smells bad later.
Right. So
okay, run the question back again, and I'll pick up from there.
When I'm the one rejected, how do I handle it? Do I gossip? Do I tell all? Am I petty? Do I seek revenge? What do I do?
Well, you're really speaking to people who have all those elements available to them. It depends on the kind of person that you are. Are you the person, and I made my joke, if you want to riot, okay, I'm going to tantrum, I'm going to burn the world down, and everybody has to pay and know that I'm bleeding. If you are that human, I caution you. Move wisely. Slow down for a minute. Throw your riot privately. For real.
Yes.
If you are a person that
yes.
you need to riot, you want to break it, you want to burn it, you want to hit somebody in the throat. I'm dead there. Oh my God. It's like, yo, you getting on my nerve. You talking madness, and I want to hit you straight in your throat. However, if you run that scenario in your head, please don't act it out, because jail is real too. Jail is real. Right. Write that down. So consider not putting yourself in any further of a pickle. It's time to be still and assess. I know y'all don't like the person with the R and the last name that rhyme with Ellie, but he has this one line in his song that says, let me sit back and see what happened in this house. That line has never left me. When it comes to anything that goes in a different direction than I expected, I am going to sit back and look at what happened in my house, what happened in the house of my heart, the house of my mind, the house of my energy, the house of my spirit, because I need to find the splinter. You gotta get it out. You gotta get it out. If you are a human who writes, write. Let's talk about me. Most recent situation burned and broke my heart. And it was sitting so heavy, and I'm like, God, why is this sitting so heavy and so deep? The time frame didn't match the depth of what I was feeling in my belly. And Holy Spirit is good. I asked the question, boop, dropped me a couple of pictures. I'm like, oh, okay. It is because it mirrors something prior. Have I done my work? Did I write the book? Am I still susceptible because I have emotions? I just know how to move through it faster. So for me, that thing burned so deeply, and I assessed, what is the hurt? What is the need? How do I move in a way that not only satisfies this present situation, but it has an answer for the past? What's the real question? And sometimes you really just got to get quiet and get down to your real question. A whole lot of words, right? But you want to concise it to what is your real question. And the real question for me was, okay, what happened before? What happened before? It was ugly. It was not fair. I was hurt I was hurt and injured in this thing, and it cost me, again, this is the global situation with the friends all around the world, blah, 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 blah. It cost me lots of things. It was a death, okay? Death and a mourning, domestic violence 19, right? I did not have opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity to say my piece. However, fast forward in the present situation, the most present, still past now, I had an opportunity to say my piece. And the burn in my belly, I kid you not, the burn in my chest, because I did what I needed to do. I did it respectfully. I did open my mouth. I did share with more folks, but mind you, it wasn't like, okay, you need to say this. I needed to get it out, one. Two, it was the kind of conversation that I would have had to have 150 times, and I don't wanna. Who would do that? So I let it out the way I let it out. I'll say it that way, right? Pink elephant. It's recorded on Clubhouse. So if you are that human, do what you need to do to satisfy the current and whatever it was anchored to in the past. That's dealing with it. That's getting it out of your belly, out of your body, out of your heart, so you can move the hell on. I ain't about to sit in this. We're on day one too many, according to me.
The only way out is through. The only way out is through. You cannot stuff that down and get through. You can you can take it with you. That's all you can do. The only way out is through. And so getting through even the most ugly of ordeals is necessary. And you have to find a way to express. Writing the book, I needed to get it out. And my original intention wasn't to, I was like, well, I'll write it and then one day it'll be released.
No, do it now.
Right now. Yeah, that was divine instruction. But it was important to get it out, and it is important to get it out. And so, like she was saying, even if you need to write it, you need to be honest about all your feelings with a trusted community that will not let you run with scissors.
Yeah. We run with scissors.
Okay, that's the
not
nice
run after people with scissors.
That's the nice version of, like, we keeping you away from the weapons.
Jail. Stay away from the jail.
Yes, but allow you to scream, cry, break dishes. I had a disavowal ceremony and we broke stuff. It was pretty cool. It's recorded. Okay. Just saying.
What do you need? Be honest about what you need and
had
that.
A hammer and some glass. I would just say that.
Yeah. And it doesn't require injury to the person who you perceive has offended you. And I'll say this more for a second. This is going to sound so jacked up, but this is the truth and this is what I believe. We are all players. We play roles in each other's lives. And when you really sit back and look at the different seats you're sitting in, the different roles you're playing in someone else's life, friend, victim, victor, Judas, Jesus, and lover, friend, mother, sister, brother, father, like that circle, that whole Fibonacci. The sequence just keeps rolling out. It's endless. And when you can move to a point where you understand these are roles, these people are contracted in your life to play a role. When you understand that the role, they fulfilled their role. It may be a sucky role, but it's it was necessary. That sounds horrible out loud, but it was necessary. What did you need from that? What role did you play in that? What did you learn? Who are you? Who were you in that moment? Who are you becoming? And it was never meant to make you stick. It was never meant to trap you. It was never meant to trap you. So when you can push back, and I offer you that as a perspective, when you're going through pain and trauma, push back, climb higher. It looks different than when you're standing on the ground, and then you climb up into the tree, and then you go hang gliding, or then you go play with me and jump out planes. It looks different. So use the power of perspective, the power of allowing, the power of accepting. This happened. Get your power back, because a part of your power is left over there in that pain. What she say? The way through.
There's the only way out is through.
And while you're walking through, get your power.
There we go. And so sometimes you get to, our human desire is we want to be seen and heard and loved, right? That's basic human need. In this circumstance, we want somebody to know our story. We want somebody to know the truth, right? And ideally, we'd like the person who caused us pain to know that we're in pain and to make it right. That's definitely not always possible. Sometimes it's possible to tell the person who hurt you that you are hurt. Sometimes that is possible. If you have that opportunity, take it. Take it. Don't be a fool. If you speak like a fool, you will have an argument and not the discussion that you want.
Tell it again. Go on, say it. Go on, say it 3 ways.
Don't be a fool.
Say it another way.
Okay, so when our emotions are high, when your heart's pumping, you've been in an argument, you know how that feels in your body. Your heart is pumping, your mind is racing, your eyes are going really wide and looking all over the room. And, no one can hear. You can't hear the person you're screaming at. They can't hear the words that you are screaming at them. Nothing's being accomplished other than raised blood pressure.
Holy Spirit.
Okay. So if you want to yell and scream, I mean, that's something you can choose. If you'd like to get your heart need met, of being heard, seen, known, loved, received.
Right.
If you have an opportunity for that, calm down. I suggest writing out what you'd like to express. I'm a writer, so that comes a little more naturally for me. You need to record something audio.
And sometimes it's tactile. There are certain situations that require paint and pastels, so I can feel it and press it and touch it. But prayerfully, you've taken time to know you, and if you haven't, get to know you. And once again, I point out Uncle Google and Auntie YouTube, because coping skills are strewed. So
pick your poison, pick your way.
Stay away from jail.
Express yourself. If you have the opportunity to express it to the person who hurt you, do that. They respectfully. They may not be willing to hear it, and that's okay. Has nothing to do with you. That basic human need, you want them to somehow make it right. This is so common in the case of betrayed women. You want them to know how you're bleeding, and you want them to kiss the boo-boo and make it better.
And some of them want revenge.com, so y'all better act right.
Well, even the desire for revenge is really the cry. I want to be heard. I want you to know how I'm paining. I want you to make it right. I want you to pay like I am paying. That's
what that part is. It's the payment.
Yeah.
They want justice.
Yeah, I want you to hurt like I'm hurting.
Bleed.
I want you to know what this feels like. Yeah. That's empathy. I'm looking for empathy. I'm looking to be seen. It's the same thing. I bust the windows out there. Same stuff.
You sang a song about it.
Right?
That's so you understood it was me.
Same. All the things that jilted people do. So ultimately, we're trying to get our heart touched. That's not always possible. Most of the time, I would say it's less possible than less likely to get that person who hurt you to hear you, to make things right and all that.
Here's a thought that pops to mind: your orientation, your identity. When your identity is already fastened, it's harder for someone to come and break it to pieces and erase you. Like she mentioned about the character and like that, and having a definition of what you will or will not tolerate. And when you are able to tap back, because this is what I had to do, like when I had that lovely incident with my ex, the last encounter, blah blah blah, we went through DV shelters, counseling, and like that, I had a moment to step back and peel off those layers, because I knew who I was. I got to go back to God and get my initial definition. Hey, Malika, this is who you are: loved, unique, favored, blessed, and build from there. Build through the character that was already ingrained in me, the decisions that I knew were right for me, having that time. So I guess my encouragement is, make sure you remind yourself. And that is a lot of what went on with this other stuff. I ain't dealing with that foolishness no more. Define your list. I ain't dealing with this foolishness no more. And make sure you understand the foolishness that you're not dealing with. And then this is what I want. This is my value. This is what I'm worth. This is me. Know you. And then that way, when some genius comes and tries to challenge you on who you are, or redefine you, or thumbprint you and trick you, it ain't gonna go that easy, and it ain't gonna go that long. You might fall for it for a while. You may get caught up in the love stuff. But I speak it over you. When you're under my hearing, you'll be reminded.
That's right.
Watch my word.
And that's what we call it: choose life. Yeah. I choose life as a movement. It's not just a book title, and it's not just my decision. It's something we get to do. The scripture says, I put before you life and death. And then tells us what to choose. Now choose life. In case you were confused.
Like, which one do I choose, God? Life? Okay,
choose life, so that you and your descendants may live. So that's the very same way. In my situation, there was a whole life, a whole identity in front of me, and that I had participated in.
Mhm.
It wasn't just something he painted out the sky. It's something that I was predisposed to, and something he invited me to walk in, and I said, yup. Do you want to be the sole provider of your household? Yup. I chose it. I chose it because I did it. And I had to come to a place where I decided that's not the life for me anymore. And my prayer was not, and I want to get back on focus, but my prayer was not to end my marriage. My prayer was, God, I want him healed more than I want him whole. And I don't know what it's going to take. And we're in this crisis, but I don't want to go back to coping. I'm done with the cycle. That was the prayer.
Mm.
God, I don't know what this is going to take. I don't know. I was not in no way asking for the end of my marriage.
Mm.
I wanted an end to the brokenness, and I wanted to be on a path to wholeness, to freedom, to all the good. I wanted the good part, and the Lord has delivered. Okay, focus.
No. Sure. It is a beautiful thing when you get to the good part. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Even deciding for yourself that you're not going to be in a place where you're waiting for the good part. That's an identity we choose. That's an identity we choose. Pursuing the great and never attaining the great is an identity we choose. I actually write about that in the book. I call it Glory in the Struggle. For many of us, for me, for many of us, we put glory in the struggle, not in the attaining. We make attaining the good prideful. We make pursuing the good noble. And so we pursue and self-sabotage before we attain, because we've associated getting to the wealth with a character flaw. It's in the book. You should read it.
Money, I love you. You love me. No.
Let's circle back so we can stay. And so the after party is on Clubhouse. When we finish these last couple points, we will open the floor to those in the Clubhouse room who'd like to share their perspective, who have questions, and we can continue that conversation there. I will not belabor this live, what we're doing here. So if you'd like to join us on Clubhouse, come find us. I'm the rebound coach on Clubhouse. I have there's two questions. All right.
Who on Clubhouse?
Dallas Cohen.
There we go.
The rebound coach. Dallas Cohen with a K. Kohen. All right. So if I am forming a community, so I'm just getting started, I'm going to start this new thing. How do I keep people from getting hurt? How do I stop this community betrayal from happening?
Why are you starting the community? That's your first question. Why are you starting the community? What's your so if you are one of those humans who are like, hey, I want to start a community. Why? What you want? What you want with a community? If you are someone who is let's look at business. A lot of folks start communities for business. It's very strategic, and I will speak of the success and the failure of communities. I'll speak of it that way. When you are building something, look at the seed. And I think one of the best communities to really discuss business-wise is law enforcement. So
for better and for
law
worse.
Enforcement, I love that stuff. Bless the cops who have a heart and who have a brain. Them other ones, please God, remove. So if you look at the seed of law enforcement, the seed came about during slavery. It was about control, right? It evolved. It moved into certain positions where it was about to serve and protect. But even in that evolution, the serve and protect did not include everybody. It was for a specific set of humans. And fast forward to what we're watching happen now. That seed never died. There was nothing new planted. We are dealing with the evolution of a thing. It is care, custody, control. Bottom line, money. Why was it put in place? To keep the money in certain hands and out of others, darlings. So that is a community. Now, why are you creating your community? Not saying the intent of the seed is nefarious. I am saying, what is your seed?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? Like, for real, are you here with a heart to serve people, to serve your clients and customers and give them great experiences, to speak on awesome services and products? Or are you simply about the self glory? Is your ego bigger than the idea of your community? And if your community is only being in place to serve you, ill and yuck.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what community can be. I know some beautiful communities with incredible humans who are doing things like taking care of octopus. Octo Nation, shout out. I know incredible communities that are taking care of business, not business, real business. Dr. Doris Frazier's community, PNC, they are taking care of business and one another. Outside of business community, some churches, I know some church folk. They love you, Pastor Marguerite. Shout out.
Yeah.
So for real, like, why do you want to create a community? Are you a selfish human? If so, please
Exit stage
don't
left.
do it. Beat it. Because some people are total jerks and true visionaries and absolutely crazy, okay? And things, boom. And even in that, you still got to hop back to the intent and the seed, and there's going to be something of life there. It is not seeded with death there. And if you start that community and you are seeding it with death, selfishness, ego, foolishness, pride, what do you say about the bay tree? It'll grow for a time.
Mm-hmm.
It'll grow for a time. God have mercy.
Well, growth is not the only proof of success. Someone told me a story once. A preacher talked to another preacher and said, "My church is growing like wildfire. God is with us. He must be pleased." And the elder pastor responded, "Cancer also grows." Okay.
I'm going to counter that comment in the sense of this. Anything stagnant?
Well, the point being, growth by itself is not a
Right,
measure
there are
of
other markers now. I understand.
that's what I was that's what I'm saying to that.
Okay.
Just because there's more people in your group does not mean that you are doing well. And what I will also say is no one succeeds alone.
Nope.
So you can start manipulating people. You can trick a certain group of people to be manipulated. And if you're very skilled, you can do it for a while. What you can't do is succeed in an endeavor with that as your foundation.
For a time, one can. We look at, and I think about the coaches.
Depend on what you
that are in the a lot of influencers, a lot of folks who put the pictures up and run this and run that. Only if you look behind it, it's kind of hollow. So that's why, like, if you look at the number of coaches that were like running around before COVID, and then compare it into what we're having now, what we're dealing with, the coaching and the model and what's been sustained, there's been so many folks who built massive community, and that stuff is gone like that bakery by my house, 1809, been there for 100 years, and here come COVID. So when you build a thing, God wasn't playing when he said he's gonna try it. It will be tested. We are built. We will be tested. We will go through fire. We will go through pain. We will go through this, and your heart is tested. Life is that. Life is not a I don't know who lie does with all this. You're supposed to be happy. Stop lying to people. Stop lying to people. You're supposed to live your life, right? You seek what you seek. Happiness is a part of life. You can focus on it. Also, darling, death is a part of life. Sadness is a part of life. Abuse is a part of life. For some, right? Not for everybody. And I'm not advocating for it. Definitely don't recommend it. Worst I've ever been in. But those are my thoughts for now.
Okay. So if you're building a community, the question we pose is, how do I keep people from being hurt? You can't. Like, that's the for real of it. You can't. People are people. Life is life. You can do your very best and they still end up hurt. That's life, right? What you can do is tend to the garden of your own soul and like she was saying, your heart, why you're starting a community and how you choose to care for people. If you and I'm gonna tie it to success, because that's the truth. And because a lot of us get started for selfish reasons, because we are human people.
We want the money.
We want money. We want whatever we think
attentions.
money gets us, and all of that. So I'm not saying you have to have the most pious ideals. What I am saying is, if you want what you say you want, you better treat people right.
That's customers. That's customer service. That's step
People,
one. Sales.
Period.
You have some. You want some in a relationship. Hey, I want you to like me.
Yeah, people. You
buy my stuff.
Treat people well, no matter what you're trying to get done. If you're a leader of a corporation, a small business, a church, a political campaign, hello. It doesn't matter what it is you're trying to get done with a group of people. You must steward those people well, or they leave. Like, it's a guarantee. Even the most successful whatever, the pastors I mentioned in the story before lost their community because of how they treated the people. Okay? How you treat people matters.
And let's back it up a little bit to the character. Like, literally, we talked on the what do you want it for, but who are you? Do you have what it takes to build that community? And I believe in hiring people too. So do you have, or can you hire, or do you have folks in your personal community that will help you build and take care of the community? Because community is a garden. You have to work your garden, or it's going to be weeded up. And unless it's the other kind of weeds, we really don't want that weed in your garden. So it's work. It is work, but it's good work.
And it's worthy work.
It's really
and the beautiful thing is we reap what we sow. So when we are good to people, someone is good to us. Not always the same people, but it's a law. And so very, very last, before we go into after party, where can someone get supports, specifically ladies? Okay, no matter what kind of trauma, betrayal, or abuse you may have endured, where might you be able to get support in a few months?
On a beach. So my first mind went to 1-800-799-SAFE.
No.
We're still throwing it out there.
Yes.
You're in a situation. You need to get out of that situation.
There's that.
You know that situation. Leave.com.
It's on the screen if you're watching. 1-800-799-SAFE or 7233 is the domestic violence hotline. It is a step one for anyone if you are dealing with a domestic, or you think you are,
right?
Even if you're not sure.
Oh my Lord, please become educated. Make yourself aware of what the various arms of abuse look like, so that you can assess if it is happening to you. You can go, oh, okay, hold up. That's exactly what's happening here. And then decide what type of action you need to take. If it is a matter of you not having to really assess, if you are getting beat up, slapped up, there's really not much assessing you need to do. That's abuse. Okay. The question, however, was where can you come and deal with their situation? So April 8th through 10th, we are going to be in Clearwater, Florida at the beautiful Edge Hotel. During that time at the Edge Hotel, we are going to touch a few things, tackle a few things, and I would say that you're coming to be refreshed, right? You're coming to be renewed. You're coming to find some sanctuary and some peace, some health, some wholeness, and some liquor. So
I wish y'all could see her face over here.
Let me tell you what, I believe in the blessing. Yes, I do. So I'm being silly, but seriously, sanctuary experience truly is an experience, and you are walked through spiritual doors right into yourself. If you have that trauma and that pain, you have not been able to shake it loose, and you want to be free already, like you had enough, and you know you need a community's help, right? Community to get through that. Dallas is amazing. And again, she mentioned that she's Hebrew, and she takes folks through some tenets. It's off the chain. And then she handed over to the nice people that want to rub on you to massage folks. And really just achieve a level of peace, you need that moment, like that moment I mentioned earlier, being able to step away from what was normal, from what was rhythmic, and assess what is going on in my house, the house of my heart, the house of my body, the house of my mind, the house of my energy, the house of my emotions. We need a moment. And the way Sanctuary was born, I almost died for peeing while Black. And as a woman in leadership, woman of business, day one, after I was expected to be in meetings, I ain't make it. But day two, I did, because the expectation, especially Black women, that happened. Yep. Slavery happened. Get over it. We got stuff to do. There's money to make. There's people to serve. And I needed that support and the heart. Me and God had our conversation. And what he dropped in me was just like water. Boom, sanctuary. I'm like, okay, God, I need sanctuary. Let's talk about it more. Got to chopping it up with God more about that. Pictures, meditation opens up, and the heart to serve women in leadership globally, to create a community so that when stupid happens, when pain happens, when abuse happens, when disregard, misuse happens, you have somewhere to come where you are safe and you get a minute. You get a minute, because sometimes I say that I just need a minute. You get that minute for 3 whole days.
And we have a testimony. You'll be able to hear it if you're not watching, but you'll be able to see it if you are. Deborah Russell was one of those professional leadership powerhouse women who happened to be a part of Sanctuary. She came as a guest just that first evening, and this is her.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Russell. I'm here in Clearwater, Florida.
We gotta turn
to make it louder.
We gotta turn her up for the people's in the back, for the people's on the phone. Yeah.
There we go.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Russell. I'm here in Clearwater, Florida at the Sanctuary Experience. Today I was able to witness powerful women speak about things that should have broken them, that could have broken them. But what I learned is that everyone has the strength to excel, the strength to persevere. And so that's what we're working on today, tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Don't miss out.
Yay!
She's so beautiful.
She's beautiful and classy
so
and powerful.
God.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And we're going to see her again. So April 8th, 9th, and 10th, if you would like to have a conversation about Sanctuary and your need for Sanctuary, you can find more information at thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. You can also contact me at any of the social media handles, The Rebound Coach, Facebook, Insta. Don't get me on Insta. Let me just tell you the truth. Don't do that.
Don't do it on Instagram.
I mean, I have one, but don't do it. Facebook or thereboundcoach.com. My contact info there. Okay. That's the best way to reach me. Dallas at thereboundcoach.com if you email.
Bingo. And the best way to reach me if you'd like to discuss Sanctuary, and I didn't speak about it the other good part, but if you'd like to reach me, I would say reach out. Facebook, you can always catch me. I am on my Instagram. Message me. I will get back to you. And the simplest way to reach Malikia about Sanctuary is to text the word Sanctuary, the letters X and P, Sanctuary XP, to 321-443-2495. 321-443-2495.
You're going to have to say that again. Hold on.
No, she want me to say it again, not. She's going to create the banner. While she's creating the banner, I will also add this. Now, I'll talk to you about what Dallas does at Sanctuary. I am your drill. I will be in your grill. We're going to dig and identify where that stuff is in your body and your mind, and we're going to get it out. I will say, you ain't seen God walk through, and I believe in the praise and worship. We will be in some of that as well. And that is the lead into getting it off of you. I have a gift, a spiritual gift that God gave me. I do not sit here and make like, oh my God, it's me, because it ain't. It truly is a God gift, and I am able to help folks transmute that trash to the cross, because it is not your burden to bear. It's not yours. Let's let it go.
What's the number?
321-443-2495. 888-985. It's early bird $2 since you told me about early
Oh,
bird.
yes. I do recommend that you get on this train now. So our the standard ticket price is $2,500. You can get an early bird rate for $1,000, which is a huge early bird deal.
Take it.
Through this month. So it is only through this month. And I recommend you get on that. And for those who need time to space that out, you can lock in your rate of $1,000 by getting your ticket now. There's only a few spots. We cannot do the intensity of work that we do on lots of people at once.
No.
That's not the point. We want you to get through, not just to go to a thing to be gone to a thing.
This is not rah-rah.
We have plenty of fun, but this is not just about, oh, I went to the beach for 3 days with these ladies. You leave changed. That's not a saying. We touch you physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. We touch you. You don't leave the same, and you don't leave alone.
No.
So that being said, we can't do that for 50 women.
God, no, I ain't going.
Okay.
I like me a lot. So
yeah,
she wanted more humans. Listen, let me explain. 12, because literally that was already known. When I go into that space, we in the ethers, y'all. We hanging out at the throne, and that is a heavy space. And some folks come with heavy things on them. And in order to effectively get that off, we got work to do. And I prefer a cozier unit, one to solidify our community. Like, there is trust, there is love. You need that attention. I'm here for that. So that's why I'm not going with 50. I don't see the wisdom in it. I ain't doing it. How about that?
Fair enough. So there's only room for 12. It's only room for 12.
She said 15, but I ain't doing no more than that. But 12 is my happy number.
Okay. And if you got a friend, there might be a deal. If you're coming with a friend, there might be a deal. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to end the live stream version of this and go on to the after party on Clubhouse. If you hopped on here at the last minute and you have a question, you're like, man, I didn't get to say, join us on Clubhouse. I'm Dallas Cohen on Clubhouse, the Rebound Coach.
I'm on my team. I'm moving. It can be heard. Thank you. I appreciate the notes, and I appreciate it.
And you can find us there, and we're going to continue the conversation. So thank you so much for joining us here live. We really appreciate you being a part of this. I'd love to hear from you. Facebook.com/reboundcoach. My inbox is always open. And you can contact me. I'd love to hear your story. And until next time, folks online, choose life.
Bye, y'all.